we have a lot to look into. Looking at this 2025 Royal Rumble, can we talk about this? So at Raw, John Cena declares himself for the 2025 Royal Rumble. He says his win-loss record has been no good. He says he does not deserve a title match. He says that there have been all kinds of speculation as to who he's going to wrestle in his final year. And he brings up Drew McIntyre first. And dog, we were the only ones that I know bringing up John Cena versus Drew McIntyre. So shout out to John Cena, huge Notsam wrestling fan. Shout out to you, John Cena. You're our GOAT. But he says he's going to get to his 17th world title by winning the Royal Rumble. Roman Reigns on SmackDown is declared by Paul Heyman for the Royal Rumble. And the graphic that we've seen so far is John Cena and Roman Reigns in this Royal Rumble match. That's enough as it is. But if you watch the Netflix Raw post show that was on YouTube, CM Punk cuts this great promo with Jackie Redmond. And he talks about, first of all, he talks about being the best. He's like getting everybody that you know, was talking all kinds of mess. Anybody that didn't think I had it anymore, look at me now. This is my year. I'm coming for all the gold. Like, I think he was really, in a very real way, I think Phil Brooks, after that match with Seth Rollins, proved everything to himself. And I think we were seeing a bit of an endorphin dump. And I love an endorphin dump. But I think we were seeing it all, that he realized, like, yes. Because when there are people that are doubting you, those doubts creep in. And there comes a time where you kind of have to prove it to yourself that they're wrong and you're right. You were right to have faith in yourself. And I think that that's legitimate. That Netflix Raw was this great moment. That, okay, he got injured at the start of his run, but he told a great story. He had 3 great matches with Drew, one of them on people's list of match of the year. He's wrestled live events against people like Dominic Mysterio, against Gunther, against Ludwig Kaiser. And now he has this incredible match with Seth Rollins in the main event of the biggest Raw in the history of the industry. And he's having a good time and he's happy. I think that was a real person that was letting some steam off and letting everybody know that this feeling that he's got now, he's unstoppable. And I love that. But he also said he's coming for the Royal Rumble. There's no graphic, but I'm taking that. CM Punk said he's in the Royal Rumble and he is going to win and he's going to main event WrestleMania. 3 people announced for the Royal Rumble. 3 people have guaranteed victory. And all 3 of them are not only future Hall of Famers, but they can't go into the Hall of Fame at the same time because all 3 of them are future headline of the class. Stop everything. We should probably sell tickets just to the Hall of Fame this year. Hall of Famers. John Cena, CM Punk, Roman Reigns. All in the Royal Rumble this year. And with 3 people announced for the 2025 Royal Rumble, we've already got to start having the conversation. Is this going to be the most loaded Royal Rumble match in the history of this thing? Right? Because just look at what's on the roster. Aside from those 3, who else could you have, right? Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, Jey Uso at this point, right? I doubt Gunther will be in there. Logan Paul. I mean, there's so many people. This is just off the top of my head that are going to end up in there. Is AJ Styles going to return anytime soon? What about the people that could return to the WWE? What about The Rock? What if that's when the final boss comes back? What about all the rumors of this being Goldberg's last year? That Goldberg is going to have a retirement match. What if Goldberg pops up in there? I saw people on Facebook writing that Ric Flair was going to pop in. I don't think so. I hope not, but could be. What if Brock Lesnar returns? I mean, it is insane the amount of people that could be in this match and how difficult it is to call it. Number one, because now that The Rock is far from a sure thing at WrestleMania, it becomes far from a sure thing as to what any of the matches are. We can have a real conversation about who's going to win this thing because we don't know who. There are multiple possibilities of what these WrestleMania main events and title matches could be. And number two, there's another road to get there. There's the Elimination Chamber. And any of those three guys could also pop up in the Elimination Chamber. As well as anybody. And by the way, those three guys may not be the guys that win this thing. Can you imagine those three guys possibly being in the Final Four? I mean, incredible. When you ask if it's the most loaded Royal Rumble ever, I mean, there have been some loaded Royal Rumbles, okay? If you look back, the 1990 Royal Rumble is an incredibly loaded Royal Rumble. This is before. So the Royal Rumble rule, where the winner gets to have the championship match at WrestleMania, that didn't take effect until 1993. 1992, the Royal Rumble was for the vacated WWE Championship, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But the first handful of Royal Rumbles, 91, 90, and into the 80s, they were just spectacles. They were just Royal Rumbles. It was, hey, he won the Royal Rumble. We're just coming to see this match. But the 1990 Royal Rumble was nuts. I mean, Hogan, Warrior, Andre, DiBiase, Perfect. It was everybody of that era. You know what I mean? It was the perfect, like, sort of so many big stars of the 80s and early 90s, all packed in there. I think, though, when you look at it, to me, the 1992 Royal Rumble might be just as loaded, and also just as a Royal Rumble match is, like, perfect. It's such a good Royal Rumble match. What's interesting about the 1992 Royal Rumble match is I don't think at the time we realized how loaded it was, because 92 is that transitional time. 92 is that time when the Hulkamania era is kind of dying out and the new generation era is about to begin. So we don't realize how lucky we are to have some of the big names in it. We also don't realize how many future stars are in this thing, right? Because you have The Undertaker. You have Shawn Michaels. You have, Davey Boy Smith. You have all these guys in there, but you also have Ted DiBiase. You've got, who was I looking at just a minute ago? Of course, you have Ric Flair. You have Hulk Hogan. You have Sid, who they're building up. You have all of these people all telling a story. It's hard to call. And then, boom, Flair ends up being the one to win it and have the gold. And just Flair being in it at that time was this, like, okay, now we're looking at something that not only has the top stars of the Roddy Piper's in there. Everybody's in there. Not only do you have Tito Santana, Greg Valentine, everybody. Not only do you have some of the biggest stars of the 80s in there, you've got the biggest stars of the day because the world title's on the line. You've got the stars of the future, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, etc. I mean, you got this moment at the beginning of the match. I was watching it. You get this moment where Shawn and Ric Flair are going at each other, and I'm sitting there watching January of 1992. Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair going after each other in the Royal Rumble, and just thinking about the fact that we are, what is that? 92 Royal Rumble is leading to WrestleMania 8. So what are 18, 19, 21, 22, 23, 20, 16 years after the 1992 Royal Rumble, we would see Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels in that perfect retirement match at WrestleMania 24. And then having Flair in that match also almost makes it bigger, because now you're looking at it like, okay, Ric Flair was the top wrestler in the world outside of WWE, and now he's in this thing too. So it became this bigger match, right? I think we just didn't know what it was at that time. When we're talking about loaded Royal Rumble matches, I think you got to go to 2002. 2002, and when I was doing my show on the WWE Network, I said the whole year should be put into the WWE Hall of Fame. 2002 is the most underrated year in the history of the WWE. 2002 is a year that I think all of us should go back to, and maybe we do it on Patreon, maybe we do something, but like going through all the pay-per-views of 2002, especially the Big Five, are incredible. Survivor Series 2002 is on another level. Royal Rumble 2002, WrestleMania that year, SummerSlam 02. You're talking about Rock and Brock. You're talking about Hunter and Shawn. Like, Royal Rumble 2002 starts off this ridiculous year. 2008, the Royal Rumble that was in Madison Square Garden. That's when you got John Cena returning. You got Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker. You've got Piper and Snuka jumping in there. You got Umaga in there. It's, again, one of those in 2008 where we didn't know how good we had it. And then I would say loaded. Because Brock Lesnar was in it as champion. But it's one of the best Royal Rumble matches ever, 2020. The one that Drew McIntyre won right before the pandemic. The 2020 Royal Rumble is like the Edge returned. Brock is in it. The first half of the match is completely different from the second half of the match. Drew McIntyre gets his moment. You have all these moments where you think Brock is going to be stopped, and he's not stopped. And then you start to think like, oh my God, Brock Lesnar is going to eliminate everybody. And then he doesn't. And now the second half of the match is this whole other story. You got Roman Reigns in there. You got everybody. It's amazing. 2018, I love as a Royal Rumble. You have the return of Rey Mysterio. You have Shinsuke Nakamura winning. You have this amazing final 6 where you have 3 of the stars that should be the stars of the future and 3 of the stars that are the stars that have been on top facing off against each other. I think it's just like, because none of it paid off, people don't look at it as fondly. But in that moment in 2018, unbelievable Royal Rumble. But yes, those are probably my top 5, 90, 92, 2002, 2008, and 2020. 2018 gets an honorable mention. But I mean, if we're just looking at pure numbers, 2025 is going to be something, bro. 2025 is going to be something.